Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the most critical conversations in modern agriculture: climate change in farming. This isn't about distant predictions or abstract concepts. This is about what's happening right now on farms across the world and how technology is becoming the lifeline that farmers desperately need. Let's start with something we can't ignore anymore. Climate change is already affecting farms. This isn't a future problem. It's here. Rising temperatures, erratic rainfall patterns, and extreme weather events are no longer things we worry about for the next generation. They're current realities that farmers are dealing with every single day, no matter where they are in the world. Think about this for a moment. A farmer in Iowa might face unprecedented spring flooding one year, then severe summer drought the next. A coffee grower in Colombia watches their harvest window shift as temperatures climb higher into mountain regions where coffee traditionally couldn't grow. A wheat farmer in Australia faces longer, more intense heat waves that can devastate crops in a matter of days. These aren't isolated incidents. They're patterns. And these patterns are fundamentally changing how we grow food. The data tells a stark story. Global temperatures have risen by approximately 1.1 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times. That might not sound like much, but in agriculture, even small temperature shifts have massive consequences. Crop yields can drop dramatically. Pest ranges expand into new territories. Growing seasons shift in ways that confuse both plants and the farmers tending them. And it's not just heat. Rainfall patterns are becoming increasingly unpredictable. Some regions are experiencing more intense rainfall in shorter periods, leading to flooding and soil erosion. Others are facing prolonged droughts that stress crops and deplete groundwater reserves. The predictability that farming has relied on for thousands of years, it's dissolving before our eyes. Now, let's talk about what this means on a practical level. Unpredictable weather disrupts traditional farming calendars. For generations, farmers have relied on accumulated knowledge passed down through families and communities. When to plant, when flowers should appear, when to expect the first frost, when to harvest. This knowledge was built on predictable seasonal patterns. But those patterns are breaking down. Planting times that worked for decades suddenly don't work anymore. Spring arrives earlier in some years, later in others. Warm spells in winter can trick fruit trees into blooming too early, only for a late frost to destroy the blossoms. Summer heat waves can arrive before crops are ready to handle stress, wilting plants just as they're supposed to be thriving. Let me give you a concrete example. Apple farmers in Michigan traditionally relied on a specific number of chill hours during winter for their trees to properly set fruit in spring. Chill hours are the accumulated time when temperatures fall below 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Without enough chill hours, apple trees don't produce well. But warming winters mean fewer chill hours. Suddenly, orchards that have been productive for generations are struggling. Farmers are having to rethink varieties, rethink management practices, rethink everything they thought they knew. Or consider rice farmers in Southeast Asia. The monsoon season, which these farmers have planned around for centuries, is becoming erratic. It might arrive late, or dump too much rain too quickly, or peter out earlier than expected. When your entire year depends on those monsoon rains arriving on schedule, this unpredictability isn't just inconvenient, it's existential. Historical knowledge, the kind built over lifetimes and generations, is becoming less reliable. And that's terrifying for an industry that is always dependent on understanding natural cycles. So what do? Do we just accept that farming is becoming impossibly difficult? Absolutely not. And that brings us to a crucial shift in thinking. Precision agriculture reduces climate risk. This is one of the most powerful tools in the modern farmer's toolkit. Precision agriculture uses GPS-guided equipment, soil sensors, weather stations, and sophisticated data analytics to help farmers make incredibly precise decisions about how to manage their land. Instead of treating an entire field the same way, precision agriculture recognizes that every square meter of soil is different. Some areas might be more prone to drought. Others might have nutrient deficiencies. Some spots might drain poorly and get waterlogged. By using GPS-guided tractors and planters, farmers can vary seed rates, fertilizer applications, and irrigation across a single field matching inputs exactly to what each zone needs. This isn't just about saving money on inputs, though that certainly helps. It's about resilience. When weather becomes unpredictable, efficiency becomes critical. You can't afford to waste water when drought might strike. You can't overapply fertilizer when heavy rains might wash it away. Precision agriculture helps farmers use resources more efficiently, which means they can weather climate variability better. Let me share a real-world example. Corn farmers in Nebraska have been using precision agriculture systems that combine GPS guidance with variable rate technology. Sensors on their equipment measure soil conditions in real time as they cross the field. The system then automatically adjusts how much fertilizer is applied based on what that specific part of the field needs. In years with unpredictable rainfall, this precision makes a huge difference. Areas of the field that are more drought-prone get managed differently than areas with better water retention. The result? More stable yields, even when weather conditions are far from ideal. This kind of precision is only possible with technology. The human eye and human judgment, as skilled as they might be, simply can't process the amount of data or make adjustments at the speed and scale that modern precision systems can. Water. Let's talk about water, because it's becoming one of agriculture's most critical challenges. Smart irrigation saves water in drought conditions. Traditional irrigation methods, like flood irrigation or even standard sprinklers, can waste enormous amounts of water. When water is plentiful, that might be acceptable. But in our changing climate, water scarcity is becoming the norm in many agricultural regions. Smart irrigation systems are changing the game. These systems use drip irrigation, which delivers water directly to plant roots with minimal waste. But what makes them truly smart is the integration with soil moisture sensors and automated controls. Soil moisture sensors placed throughout a field continuously monitor exactly how much water is in the soil. This data feeds into a central system that can automatically turn irrigation on or off, or adjust flow rates based on what the crops actually need. Not what the farmer thinks they might need. Not what worked last year. What they need right now, today, based on current conditions. The results are remarkable. Drip irrigation combined with smart monitoring can reduce water use by 30 to 70% compared to traditional methods, while maintaining or even increasing yields. In regions facing increasing drought, this technology isn't optional. It's essential. Consider California's Central Valley, one of the most productive agricultural regions in the world, but also one facing serious water challenges. Farmers growing almonds, grapes, and vegetables have widely adopted smart irrigation systems. These systems help them maintain production during the severe droughts of recent years, droughts that would have been devastating without this technology. Or look at Israel, a country that has been a pioneer in water-efficient agriculture out of necessity. Israeli farmers have been using advanced drip irrigation and sensor networks for decades. They've proven that you can grow high-value crops in desert conditions if you manage water with extreme precision. This is the future of irrigation everywhere. As climate change makes water less predictable and more scarce, smart irrigation systems will become standard practice. But what if we could remove weather variability from the equation entirely? That brings us to controlled environment agriculture. Climate-smart greenhouses enable year-round production. Greenhouses aren't new. Farmers have been using them for centuries. But modern climate-smart greenhouses are something entirely different. These are highly controlled environments where temperature, humidity, light, and even carbon dioxide levels can be managed precisely. When extreme weather strikes, when heat waves scorch outdoor crops or floods drown fields, plants in climate-controlled greenhouses continue growing unaffected. These structures protect crops from the worst that climate change can throw at them. But it's not just about protection. Modern greenhouses can optimize growing conditions to maximize yield and quality. LED grow lights provide the exact spectrum of light plants need for photosynthesis. Automated ventilation systems maintain perfect temperatures. Humidity controls prevent disease. The result is year-round production with consistent quality, regardless of what's happening outside. In regions where outdoor growing seasons are shrinking or becoming unreliable, greenhouses provide food security. The Netherlands offers a perfect example. This small country is one of the world's largest agricultural exporters, And a huge part of that success comes from their advanced greenhouse industry. Dutch greenhouses produce tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers year-round with yields per square meter that are many times higher than outdoor farming. These aren't your grandfather's greenhouses. These are high-tech facilities with computer-controlled systems managing every aspect of the growing environment. And as climate change makes outdoor farming more challenging, this model is spreading worldwide. Taking this concept even further, we have technologies that eliminate soil altogether. Hydroponics and vertical farming reduce climate exposure. These soilless growing systems take controlled environment agriculture to the next level. Plants grow in nutrient-rich water solutions, either with their roots suspended in solution or supported by inert growing media. Hydroponics uses dramatically less water than traditional soil farming. Since water is recirculated through the system rather than draining away into soil, efficiency can be 90% higher or more. For crops like lettuce and herbs, yields per square foot can be many times higher than field production. Vertical farming stacks these hydroponic systems in layers, often in warehouse-like buildings, using LED lights to provide the energy plants need. This approach completely decouples food production from outdoor weather. It doesn't matter if there's a drought, a flood, or a blizzard outside. The vertical farm keeps producing. These systems are particularly valuable near urban areas, where they can produce fresh vegetables with minimal transportation needed. Companies like Aero Farms in New Jersey and Plenty in California are demonstrating that vertical farms can produce massive amounts of leafy greens in relatively small footprints. Now, I want to be clear. Vertical farms and hydroponics won't replace traditional agriculture for most crops. Growing wheat or corn this way doesn't make economic sense currently. But for high-value crops like lettuce, herbs, strawberries, and certain vegetables, these systems offer a climate-resilient alternative. As climate change makes certain types of outdoor farming more difficult or impossible in some regions, these technologies provide options. They give us ways to maintain food production even under extreme conditions. All of this technology generates enormous amounts of data. And that brings us to perhaps the most powerful tool we have. AI and machine learning improve decision-making. Modern farms generate data from dozens or hundreds of sensors. Weather stations, soil monitors, drone imagery, satellite observations, equipment sensors. The volume of information is overwhelming. This is where artificial intelligence and machine learning come in. These systems can analyze vast amounts of data and identify patterns that humans simply couldn't see. They can build predictive models that help farmers make better decisions about when to plant, how much to irrigate, when to fertilize, when to harvest. Machine learning algorithms can look at weather forecasts, soil conditions, crop growth data, and historical patterns, then recommend optimal actions. As these systems process more data over time, they get better and better at their predictions. Let's look at a practical application. Some AI systems can predict optimal planting dates by analyzing long-term weather forecasts, soil temperature and moisture data, and historical yield information. Instead of relying on traditional calendar dates that may no longer be reliable, farmers get recommendations based on current and predicted conditions. Other AI systems help with pest and disease management. By analyzing images from drones or smartphones, machine learning algorithms can identify pest infestations or disease outbreaks in their early stages, allowing farmers to respond quickly before problems spread. There's a company called Climate FieldView that provides a platform where farmers can aggregate data from all their equipment and sensors. The AI analyzes this information and provides insights about field variability, optimal seed placement, nitrogen application rates, and more. Farmers using these insights report better yields and lower input costs, which means more resilience in variable conditions. This kind of decision support is invaluable when traditional knowledge and intuition aren't enough anymore. The climate is changing faster than humans can adapt using traditional methods alone. AI helps bridge that gap. We can also monitor crops from the sky. Satellite and drone technology monitor crop stress early. One of the biggest challenges in farming is detecting problems before they become disasters. By the time you can see that a crop is stressed just by walking through a field, significant damage may already be done. Remote sensing technology changes this equation. Satellites and drones equipped with specialized cameras can detect stress in plants before it's visible to the human eye. These cameras measure reflected light in wavelengths beyond what we can see, including near-infrared and thermal infrared. Healthy plants reflect light in characteristic patterns. When plants are stressed by drought, nutrient deficiency, disease, or pests, those patterns change. Often these changes show up days or even weeks before any visible symptoms appear. By flying drones over fields regularly or using satellite imagery services, farmers can create detailed maps showing exactly where stress is occurring. They can then investigate those specific areas and take targeted action, whether that's adjusting irrigation, applying nutrients, or treating disease. This early detection is crucial for climate resilience. When weather is unpredictable, problems can develop rapidly. The faster you can detect and respond, the better your chances of saving the crop. Planet Labs operates a fleet of satellites that image the entire Earth's landmass daily. Agricultural customers can use this data to monitor their fields continuously. Companies like Taranis and Centera offer drone-based monitoring services with even higher resolution, capable of detecting individual disease plants in a field. A wheat farmer in Kansas might use satellite data to monitor moisture stress across hundreds of acres, then send a drone to get detailed imagery of problem areas, then finally use that information to adjust irrigation in just the zones that need it. This kind of targeted, data-driven management wouldn't be possible without remote sensing technology. Finally, let's talk about the crops themselves. Climate-resilient crop varieties are data-driven. Plant breeding has been around as long as agriculture itself. Farmers have always selected seeds from their best plants to grow the next season. But modern genomics and breeding technology have accelerated this process exponentially. Scientists can now sequence entire plant genomes, identifying specific genes responsible for traits like drought tolerance, heat resistance, salt tolerance, and pest resistance. This knowledge allows breeders to develop new varieties much faster and more precisely than traditional methods. This is critical because climate change is creating new challenges faster than traditional breeding can respond. We need wheat varieties that can withstand higher temperatures during grain filling. We need rice that can survive brief flooding events. We need crops that can produce reliable yields with less water. The GIRE, an international network of agricultural research centers, has been developing climate-resilient crop varieties using advanced genomics. They've created drought-tolerant maize varieties now grown on millions of acres in Africa. They've developed rice varieties that can survive 2 weeks of complete submersion, saving harvests in flood-prone regions. Private companies are also investing heavily in this area. Varieties developed through marker-assisted breeding and genetic technology are bringing traits like drought tolerance and heat resistance to market faster than ever before. This is data-driven adaptation at the genetic level. By understanding exactly which genes contribute to climate resilience, breeders can develop the crops we'll need to feed the world as conditions continue to change. These 10 points we've covered aren't separate solutions. They're interconnected pieces of a larger transformation in how we practice agriculture. Precision farming provides the data. Smart irrigation uses that data to conserve water. AI analyzes multiple data streams to guide decisions. Remote sensing detects problems early. Climate-controlled environments provide stability. Advanced genetics gives us crop varieties that can handle the stress. Together, these technologies are building a more resilient food system, a system that can adapt to changing conditions, a system that doesn't depend on climate staying the same. Climate change is the greatest challenge agriculture has ever faced, but technology is giving us tools to meet that challenge. The farms of tomorrow won't look like the farms of yesterday. They'll be more precise, more efficient, more data-driven, and more resilient. This isn't about replacing farmers with technology. It's about empowering farmers with better tools to do what they've always done: grow food, feed communities, and steward the land for future generations. The question isn't whether agriculture will adapt to climate change. It must. The question is how quickly we can deploy these technologies at scale, making them accessible and affordable for farmers everywhere, from small family operations to large commercial enterprises. Because ultimately, food security for everyone depends on our ability to help farmers navigate this new climate reality. Technology isn't the only answer, but it's an essential part of the solution. And the future of farming depends on how well we can integrate these tools into agricultural practice worldwide. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. In our next segment, we'll continue exploring how technology is transforming agriculture in response to climate change and other global challenges. Welcome back. In our last segment, we explored how climate change is fundamentally disrupting traditional farming and how various technologies are helping farmers adapt. Now we're going to dive deeper into some specific tools and strategies that are making a real difference on the ground, and we'll look at the bigger picture of how technology, policy, and innovation are coming together to create a more resilient agricultural future. Let's start with something that can make the difference between a successful harvest and a total loss. Early warning systems reduce disaster losses. Imagine you're a farmer and you get an alert on your phone 3 days before a major frost event. Or you receive a notification that satellite data shows conditions perfect for a locust swarm to develop in your region. Or you're warned that flooding is likely in the next 48 hours based on upstream rainfall and soil saturation data. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. They're happening right now through digital early warning systems that are transforming how farmers respond to climate-related threats. Traditional disaster response in agriculture has always been reactive. Something bad happens, and farmers deal with the consequences. But early warning systems flip this equation. They give farmers time to act before the disaster strikes, and that window of time, even if it's just hours or days, can save entire harvests. Let's talk about floods first. In Bangladesh, a country extremely vulnerable to flooding, farmers are now receiving SMS alerts when upstream river levels rise to dangerous points. These alerts come from a network of automated river gauges that feed data into predictive models. Farmers get messages telling them they have 24 or 48 hours before fields will flood. With that warning, they can harvest crops early if they're close to maturity, move livestock to higher ground, protect stored grain, and prepare pumps and drainage systems. The economic impact is enormous. Studies show that early flood warnings can reduce agricultural losses by 30 to 50% when farmers have time to act. Heat waves are another critical threat. When temperatures spike unexpectedly, crops can suffer severe stress in a matter of hours. Early warning systems now monitor weather forecasts and send alerts when dangerous heat is approaching. Farmers can respond by increasing irrigation, applying shade cloth in high-value crops, or adjusting greenhouse ventilation systems before the heat arrives. In California's wine country, vineyard managers receive alerts when heat waves are forecast. They can then trigger sprinkler systems to cool grapes during the hottest parts of the day, preventing sunburn damage that can destroy fruit quality and reduce wine value. Pest outbreaks are particularly well suited to early warning systems because many pests respond predictably to weather conditions. Temperature, humidity, and rainfall patterns create favorable or unfavorable conditions for pest reproduction and spread. The Desert Locust Early Warning System, operated by the Food and Agriculture Organization, uses satellite data, weather monitoring, and ground surveys to predict where locust swarms are likely to develop. Affected countries receive alerts weeks or even months before swarms arrive, allowing them to organize control measures and warn farmers to prepare. For more localized pests, digital platforms are emerging that combine weather data with pest lifecycle models. An app might tell a corn farmer that conditions over the next 2 weeks are ideal for corn borer development, and that they should be scouting fields more carefully or preparing to apply biological controls. The key insight here is that disasters don't have to be surprising anymore. We have the technology to see them coming. And when farmers can see threats approaching, they can prepare, adapt, and significantly reduce losses. This connects directly to another revolution happening in agricultural forecasting. Digital weather forecasting is more local and accurate. Traditional weather forecasts covered large regions. A forecast might tell you what to expect across an entire county or state, but farms aren't uniform across large regions. Microclimates exist. A farm in a valley might have completely different conditions than one on a hillside just a few miles away. This is where hyperlocal weather forecasting comes in. Modern weather apps and services can now provide forecasts at the field level, sometimes predicting conditions for specific areas as small as a few acres. How is this possible? It's a combination of denser networks of weather stations, radar data, satellite observations, and sophisticated computer models that can simulate weather at much higher resolution than before. Some systems even incorporate data from sensors on individual farms, creating crowdsourced weather networks. A farmer in Iowa might use an app that shows rainfall predictions not just for a town, but for each individual field they farm. This level of detail changes decision-making entirely. Instead of applying the same irrigation strategy across all fields based on a regional forecast, they can tailor irrigation field by field based on what's actually predicted for each location. Companies like Aware and Climate Corporation provide hyperlocal weather data specifically for agriculture. Their systems can tell you not just if it will rain, but how much rain is likely to fall on field number 7 versus field number 12. This matters enormously when you're trying to time planting, spraying, or harvest operations. Temperature forecasts at this resolution are equally valuable. Frost is often highly localized. One field might freeze, while another a quarter-mile away stays just above freezing. Hyperlocal forecasts help farmers know exactly which fields are at risk, so they can deploy frost protection measures precisely where needed. Wind speed and direction forecasting at the field level is critical for pesticide and fertilizer application. Spraying in windy conditions causes drift, wasting product, and potentially damaging neighboring crops or ecosystems. Detailed wind forecasts help farmers choose optimal application windows. The accuracy improvements are significant too. 5-day forecasts today are as accurate as 2-day forecasts were 20 years ago. This extended accuracy window gives farmers more time to plan operations around weather. And these forecasts are getting smarter. Machine learning systems are improving forecast accuracy by learning from past predictions and actual outcomes. Every season, the models get a little bit better. For farmers dealing with climate unpredictability, this level of detailed, accurate forecasting is incredibly valuable. It brings back some of the predictability that climate change has taken away, just in a different form. Not seasonal predictability, but precise short-term forecasting that enables smart tactical decisions. Now, let's shift gears and talk about farming practices themselves. Regenerative practices enhanced by technology. There's a growing movement in agriculture toward regenerative practices, farming methods that don't just sustain the land, but actually improve it over time, building soil health, increasing biodiversity, sequestering carbon. These practices include things like reduced tillage or no-till farming, cover cropping, diverse crop rotations, and integrated livestock grazing. They're not new concepts. Many of these practices have been around for decades or even centuries, but technology is making them more effective and more measurable. Let's start with soil carbon monitoring. One of the key benefits of regenerative practices is that they can sequester carbon in soil, pulling CO2 from the atmosphere and storing it underground. But how do you know if it's actually working? How do you measure soil carbon changes over time? New technologies are providing answers. Portable soil sensors can measure carbon content in the field without sending samples to a lab. Satellite-based systems can estimate soil carbon changes by analyzing surface conditions and vegetation patterns over time. Modeling software can predict how different management practices will affect soil carbon accumulation. This measurement capability is crucial because it turns regenerative farming from a philosophy into a data-driven practice. Farmers can test different approaches and see which ones actually build soil carbon most effectively on their specific land. Nori and Indigo AG are companies working in this space, helping farmers measure and verify soil carbon increases so they can participate in carbon credit markets. The technology enables a verification that makes these markets possible. Cover crops are another regenerative practice, getting a technology boost. Cover crops are planted between cash crop seasons to protect soil, suppress weeds, and add organic matter. But choosing the right cover crop species, managing termination timing, and understanding impacts on the following cash crop can be complex. New modeling tools help farmers optimize cover crop strategies. These tools consider local climate, soil type, and the farmer's rotation to recommend specific cover crop mixes and management practices. Some systems even predict the economic value of cover crops by estimating nitrogen contribution, erosion prevention, and yield impacts on subsequent crops. The Midwest Cover Crop Council has developed decision support tools that farmers can use to design cover crop systems tailored to their specific situations. These tools take the guesswork out of cover cropping, making it more accessible to farmers who might be intimidated by the complexity. Reduced tillage and no-till farming benefit from precision technology as well. GPS-guided planters can place seeds with incredible accuracy in untilled soil. Sensor systems on planters adjust depth and closing wheel pressure based on soil conditions to ensure good seed-to-soil contact even without tillage. Zone or strip tillage systems, where only narrow bands are tilled for planting while most of the field remains undisturbed, rely on GPS guidance to maintain those zones year after year. All of these regenerative practices share something in common. They build resilience. Healthier soil with more organic matter holds water better during droughts and drains better during floods. Diverse crop rotations break pest and disease cycles. Cover crops prevent erosion during extreme rain events. Technology makes these resilient practices more practical, more measurable, and more economically viable. It's a perfect synergy. Ancient wisdom about working with nature, enhanced by modern tools. Speaking of modern tools, let's talk about energy. Energy-efficient tech lowers farming's carbon footprint. Agriculture is both a victim of climate change and a contributor to it. Farming operations use significant energy, from running irrigation pumps to heating greenhouses to powering machinery. Reducing this energy use isn't just good for the planet. It's good for farm economics. Solar power is revolutionizing irrigation in many parts of the world. Solar-powered pumps eliminate the need for diesel fuel or grid electricity, both of which can be expensive and unreliable in rural areas. The technology has improved dramatically and costs have fallen. In India, where millions of farmers rely on irrigation pumps, the transition to solar is accelerating. A farmer who previously spent significant money on diesel fuel now has free energy from the sun. The initial investment in solar panels pays back within a few years, and after that, pumping water costs almost nothing. This isn't just happening in developing countries. In the western United States, many farmers are installing solar panels to power center pivot irrigation systems. Some are generating more power than they use and selling excess back to grid, creating an additional revenue stream. Greenhouse operations are among the most energy-intensive forms of agriculture, especially in cold climates where heating costs can be enormous. LED lighting and smart climate control systems are drastically reducing energy consumption. Traditional greenhouse lighting used high-pressure sodium lamps that were inefficient and generated excess heat. Modern LED systems use 50 to 70% less electricity, produce less heat, which reduces cooling needs, and can be tuned to provide exactly the light spectrum plants need for optimal growth. Smart climate control systems use sensors and algorithms to minimize energy use while maintaining ideal growing conditions. These systems learn from data over time, getting better at predicting when to open vents, when to turn on heaters, when to activate shade screens. A greenhouse in Canada might use advanced insulation materials, LED lighting, and AI-controlled climate systems to reduce energy use per kilogram of tomatoes by more than half compared to older facilities. That's not just environmental responsibility. That's competitive advantage. Electric farm equipment is starting to emerge as well. Electric tractors and utility vehicles are entering the market, though full-scale electric machinery for large operations is still developing. As battery technology improves and costs fall, we'll see more electric options. The benefits extend beyond carbon reduction. Electric equipment is quieter, has fewer moving parts requiring maintenance, and can be powered by on-farm renewable energy. For smaller farms and specialized operations, electric equipment is already becoming practical. All of this energy efficiency technology serves a dual purpose. It helps farms become more sustainable and reduces their contribution to climate change. But it also improves resilience by reducing dependence on external energy sources and lowering operating costs. When diesel prices spike or grid power becomes unreliable, farms with their own renewable energy keep operating. Now let's look at how technology is bringing transparency to food systems. Blockchain improves climate accountability in supply chains. Blockchain might seem like a buzzword, but it has genuine applications in agriculture, particularly around sustainability verification and traceability. Here's the basic idea. Blockchain creates a permanent, tamper-proof record of transactions and events. In agriculture, this can track products from farm to consumer, recording information about how they were produced at every step. Why does this matter for climate adaptation? Because consumers, retailers, and governments increasingly want to know that food was produced sustainably. They want to verify that farmers are using climate-smart practices. They want to reward producers who farm responsibly. But verification is difficult. How do you prove that a shipment of coffee was grown using sustainable practices? How do you verify that beef came from ranches using regenerative grazing? Traditional certification systems involve paperwork, audits, and a lot of trust. Blockchain offers a more robust solution. A farmer using regenerative practices could record specific management actions on a blockchain, cover crop planting dates, soil test results, carbon measurements. This data becomes part of an immutable record attached to their product. When that product moves through the supply chain, each handler adds their information to the chain. Processors, distributors, retailers. By the time it reaches a consumer, there's a complete, verifiable history. Several companies are implementing blockchain systems for agricultural traceability. IBM's Food Trust platform tracks products from numerous farms and food companies. Farmers can participate in premium markets by proving their sustainable practices through verifiable data. This creates economic incentives for climate-smart farming. If you can prove you're sequestering carbon, managing water efficiently, and reducing chemical use, you can access premium markets and climate finance programs. Some blockchain systems also facilitate carbon credit trading. A farmer who increases soil carbon through regenerative practices generates credits. These credits are recorded on a blockchain, making them tradable and verifiable. The blockchain prevents double counting and fraud that has plagued some carbon markets. The transparency works both ways. Consumers get confidence about what they're buying. Farmers get recognition and compensation for their sustainable practices. It's a technology-enabled connection between values and actions. Now, a crucial point about technology access. Small farmers can leapfrog with mobile technology. When we talk about agricultural technology, there's often an assumption that it's only for large commercial farms with big budgets. But actually, some of the most transformative technology is reaching the smallest farmers in the world through the simplest device, the smartphone. In sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Latin America, millions of smallholder farmers are accessing climate information, market prices, technical advice, and financial services through mobile phones. Many of these farmers are leapfrogging directly to digital services without ever using traditional extension services or brick-and-mortar banks. Apps and SMS services provide hyperlocal weather forecasts, pest and disease alerts, and planting recommendations tailored to specific crops and regions. A smallholder maize farmer in Kenya can receive messages telling them when to plant based on forecast rains, when to apply fertilizer, when to scout for fall armorworm, when to expect harvest-ready conditions. These services are often free or very low cost, sometimes subsidized by governments or NGOs, sometimes supported by advertising or links to input suppliers. Market information services help farmers get fair prices. Instead of relying on middlemen who might exploit information asymmetry, farmers can check current market prices on their phones and decide where and when to sell. This transparency reduces exploitation and increases farm income. Digital financial services are revolutionary for small farmers who traditionally lacked access to banking and credit. Mobile money platforms allow farmers to save, transfer money, receive payments, and access credit without needing a physical bank. In Kenya, the M-Pesa mobile money platform has transformed rural economies. Farmers can receive payments instantly, pay for inputs digitally, and build financial histories that make them eligible for loans. Agricultural lending platforms use data from these digital transactions to assess creditworthiness and provide loans through smartphones. Training and education are also going digital. Video-based extension services show farmers how to implement new practices. Some apps use AI to diagnose crop diseases from smartphone photos, providing instant feedback. The organization Digital Green has created thousands of locally produced agricultural training videos that farmers can watch on smartphones. These videos are in local languages, feature local farmers, and address region-specific challenges. The impact on practice adoption is significant. What's remarkable is that all of this requires is basic mobile phone connectivity. You don't need expensive equipment, high-speed internet, or technical expertise. Just a phone and a cell signal. This accessibility is crucial for climate adaptation. The farmers most vulnerable to climate change are often the smallest and poorest. If technology only serves large commercial operations, we're leaving the most vulnerable behind. Mobile technology creates a more equitable path to climate resilience. Let's address a common concern about climate-smart farming. Tech helps balance yield, profit, and sustainability. There's sometimes a false choice presented between productivity and sustainability. The assumption that farming more sustainably means accepting lower yields and profits. Technology is proving this assumption wrong. Smart irrigation doesn't just save water. It often improves yields because crops get exactly the water they need when they need it, avoiding both drought stress and waterlogging. Precision nutrient management doesn't just reduce fertilizer use. It can improve yields because every part of the field gets optimal nutrition instead of some areas getting too much and others too little. Integrated pest management, using monitoring technology, doesn't just reduce pesticide use. It can improve yields by targeting interventions more effectively and preserving beneficial insects. The key is optimization, using data and technology to find the sweet spot where productivity, profitability, and sustainability all improve together. Let me give you a concrete example. A study of precision agriculture adoption in the U.S. Midwest found that farmers using variable rate fertilizer application based on soil testing and yield maps reduced nitrogen fertilizer use by 10 to 15% while maintaining or slightly increasing yields. Less input costs, less environmental impact, same or better production. That's the triple win technology enables. Or consider a greenhouse tomato grower using climate control AI, LED lighting, and biological pest control. Their energy use per kilogram of tomatoes is lower, their pesticide use is minimal, and their yields per square meter are higher than conventional greenhouses. Sustainability and productivity increasing together. This isn't magic, it's efficiency. It's using resources more precisely and managing systems more intelligently. Technology provides the tools to achieve this efficiency at a level that wasn't possible before. The economic case for climate-smart technology is getting stronger. As input costs rise, efficiency becomes more valuable. As consumers demand sustainability, premium markets open up. As regulations around emissions and resource use tighten, compliant operations gain advantage. Farmers aren't adopting technology primarily for environmental reasons. They're adopting it because it makes economic sense. The environmental benefits are often co-benefits of practices that improve the bottom line. Of course, technology adoption doesn't happen in a vacuum. Policy matters. Policy and incentives drive adoption of climate tech. Even when technology makes economic sense, upfront costs can be barriers. Equipment is expensive. Training takes time. There's always risk in trying something new. This is where government policies, subsidies, and incentive programs become crucial. Many countries have programs specifically designed to encourage adoption of climate-smart agricultural technology. In the European Union, the Common Agricultural Policy provides subsidies for farmers who adopt sustainable practices and technologies. Precision agriculture equipment, renewable energy systems, and conservation practices can all receive financial support. In the United States, USDA programs like the Environmental Quality Incentives Program provide cost-share funding for farmers implementing conservation practices and technologies. A farmer might receive assistance covering 50 to 75% of the cost of installing drip irrigation or purchasing precision application equipment. Carbon credit markets are emerging as another incentive mechanism. Farmers who adopt practices that sequester carbon or reduce emissions can generate credits to sell. These markets are still developing, but they're creating new revenue streams for climate-smart farming. Some countries are implementing carbon border taxes or sustainability requirements for imported agricultural products. These policies create market pressure for adoption of climate-smart practices throughout global supply chains. Climate finance is flowing into agriculture as well. International development banks and climate funds are investing in agricultural resilience projects, often with technology components. A project might provide subsidized drip irrigation systems to smallholder farmers in drought-prone regions or finance solar-powered cold storage to reduce food loss. Research and development funding is also critical. Government investment in agricultural research has produced many of the technologies we've discussed. Continued investment is essential for developing the next generation of tools. The most effective policies combine multiple approaches: financial incentives to reduce upfront costs, technical assistance and training to build capacity, market mechanisms that reward sustainable practices, research funding to drive continued innovation. Without supportive policy, technology adoption will be slower and less equitable. Policy can help ensure that benefits reach small farmers in vulnerable regions, not just large commercial operations. Here's a critical point about the timeline of climate action. Adapting is faster than reversing climate change. We need both mitigation and adaptation. Reducing emissions to slow climate change is essential, but even with aggressive mitigation, we're locked into decades of continued warming because of emissions already in the atmosphere. Adaptation through technology is immediate and actionable. A farmer can install a smart irrigation system this year and see benefits next season. They don't have to wait for global emissions to fall or for climate to stabilize. This isn't an argument against mitigation. We absolutely must reduce agricultural emissions and transition to sustainable energy systems globally. But for farmers dealing with climate impacts today, adaptation can't wait. The technologies we discuss provide immediate resilience. They help farmers survive and thrive despite climate variability. They create stability in an unstable climate. And importantly, many adaptation technologies also contribute to mitigation. Precision agriculture reduces fertilizer use, which means lower nitrous oxide emissions. Renewable energy on farms reduces fossil fuel consumption. Regenerative practices sequester carbon. This convergence between adaptation and mitigation is powerful. Technologies that help farmers cope with climate change also help reduce agriculture's contribution to the problem. The speed of technology deployment can be remarkably fast when conditions are right. Mobile phone adoption in Africa went from near zero to majority penetration in less than 2 decades. Solar irrigation is spreading rapidly across India and other countries. Precision agriculture adoption in developed countries has accelerated over the past decade. When technology offers clear benefits, when costs are reasonable, when policy supports adoption, change can happen quickly, much more quickly than climate reversal. Let's bring this all together. The future of farming is climate adaptive and data-driven. Everything we've discussed points toward a fundamental transformation in agriculture. Farming is becoming more precise, more responsive, more technologically sophisticated. The farms that will thrive in the coming decades are those that embrace data and technology. Not because technology is inherently good, but because climate change has made traditional approaches insufficient. A modern climate-adaptive farm might look like this. Sensors throughout the fields continuously monitor soil moisture, nutrient levels, and crop health. Drones and satellites provide regular imagery showing field conditions from above. Weather stations track local microclimate. All this data feeds into analytics platforms that help guide decisions. Irrigation systems respond automatically to soil conditions and weather forecasts, applying water precisely where and when needed. Variable rate equipment applies seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides based on detailed maps of field variability. The farmer receives alerts about potential pest outbreaks, disease pressure, or extreme weather approaching. They can access detailed forecasts for each field. They use modeling tools to evaluate different management scenarios. Renewable energy powers irrigation and other operations. Regenerative practices build soil health and sequester carbon. Blockchain systems verify sustainable practices and connect the farm to premium markets. This isn't science fiction. All of these technologies exist today. Many farms are already implementing them. The trend is toward integration, where different technologies work together in unified systems. And critically, this isn't just for large industrial farms. Mobile technology and cloud-based services are making sophisticated tools accessible to smaller operations. The smartphone in a smallholder farmer's pocket connects them to the same climate data, market information, and technical knowledge that large farms access. The data-driven farm is also a more sustainable farm. Efficiency reduces waste. Precision reduces excess inputs. Monitoring allows problems to be caught early. Optimization finds solutions that balance productivity and environmental stewardship. Climate change is forcing agriculture to evolve faster than at any time in history. Technology is enabling that evolution. The combination of human knowledge and experience with digital tools and data analytics creates something more powerful than either alone. Farmers have always been innovators, adapting to challenges and finding ways to coax productivity from difficult conditions. Technology is simply giving them better tools for that age-old task. The future belongs to farms that can learn continuously, adapt quickly, and optimize constantly. Data and technology make this possible. Climate change makes it necessary. But we should never lose sight of the human element. Technology serves farmers. It empowers them. It gives them agency in the face of massive environmental change. The goal isn't to replace human judgment with algorithms, but to enhance human decision-making with better information. As we move forward, the continued development and deployment of agricultural technology will be essential for global food security. Climate change isn't going away. Weather will continue to become more extreme and less predictable. Water will become scarcer in many regions. New pests and diseases will emerge. The farms that survive and thrive will be those that use every available tool to build resilience. Technology is one of the most powerful tools we have. So what's the takeaway from all of this? Climate change is the challenge. Technology is part of the solution. But the real story is about farmers around the world who are using these tools to adapt, to build resilience, to continue producing food under increasingly difficult conditions. From smallholder farmers in Kenya checking weather forecasts on mobile phones, to precision agriculture operators in Iowa using satellite data to guide planting decisions, to vertical farm managers in Singapore growing vegetables in climate-controlled warehouses, the future of farming is being written right now. It's a future where data informs decisions, where technology enhances sustainability, where farmers have better tools to face climate uncertainty. It's a future that's both high-tech and deeply rooted in the fundamental work of growing food and stewarding land. And it's a future we're building together, one farm, one technology adoption, one climate-smart decision at a time. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of climate-adaptive agriculture. The transformation is happening now, and understanding these technologies helps us all appreciate the incredible work being done to ensure a food-secure future in a changing climate.